So, fair play kind of dictates that my ass blasting be an equal opportunity thing. A very small percentage of the local game store community over the past few weeks have been up to some pretty unsavory stuff in terms of pre orders and cancellations. And I've been very, very vocal about that. On a side note, I do want to reiterate that both Darkside Games and in Las Vegas and Kapow Comics in Georgia have made it totally clear that they're off the list. One showed extenuating circumstances, and that was a store fire. And the other went above and beyond to make the orders right for their 10 or so people that they canceled. So, if you're going to call someone out, you have to then, of course, acknowledge them when they correct it. But I was thinking about things today as I was in the office, and there's a very curious situation going on with not only local game stores that seem to apparently kind of rent out their WPN numbers to online retailers while maintaining a separate higher priced in-store inventory. But I was thinking about that a lot today, and then I started to think a little bit more about the company Massdrop. And I'll be the first to admit, I don't spend as much time in my local game store as I used to. It's really, sometimes life just happens, and we all know what that's like. But meanwhile, local game stores are still there trying to keep their lights on. I definitely feel for the struggle just to get by. And I feel for the struggle of local game stores who have to compete with the low margin, high volume business model that online is dictating, as well as consumer demand is starting to dictate. Now, this is supposed to be mitigated, or the impact is supposed to be offset. Maybe not expressly, but in my opinions of local game stores, I've always thought, well, hey, this is offset because they get exclusive WPN only items. What is a WPN only item? Well, this is kind of an exclusive item, like from the vault, that you could only get at a local game store, and oftentimes had a nice margin on it, and got to help them out. I'm pretty sure the first one, maybe two Modern Masters were WPN only, although maybe it was just the first one. And what is WPN? That means you host events, and basically you're a legitimate game store. Now, as the years have gone on, we see the volume incentives that I'm assuming Hasbro and Wizards each have for each other. And so it seems like the WPN exclusive perk is kind of fading away. Now, cue Massdrop, a company that offers a pretty interesting group buying service in order for its customers to get a perceived better price. A week doesn't go by without someone sending me a link to something for sale on Massdrop. Right now, it's like really cheap Eternal Masters booster boxes. On the surface, right now, on the surface, it sounds like a great opportunity for Magic players to get some sweet deals. And as someone who's even at one time been sponsored by Massdrop, I can't say I've never been interested, but I can say I don't think I've ever purchased anything, at least Magic the Gathering related, from them. I feel like maybe I bought some headphones. That's neither here nor there. Certainly they have some spicy offers. So first I lumped them in with kind of all other online retailers, assuming it was another kind of for-show storefront physical location used just for the minimum requirements to be able to sell online. These online sellers exist on Amazon, like Fulfillment by Amazon sellers, eBay. These are the $89 booster boxes, right? These are the sellers that are making $3 to $4 at a time, 1,000 times a week. They have a much bigger market. They have a much bigger pool to sell to, and automation and shipping discounts make it the way they want to make their money, and I'm okay with that. But I kind of also learned that it's actually run a little bit differently, and now maybe things have changed, and maybe this isn't true of all products on Massdrop, specifically hobby related. I assume they do plenty of their own negotiations on most of the products, but when it comes to booster boxes and likely much of the other Magic the Gathering related items, they're actually buying directly in some cases from the local game stores. I happen to know of one that sold their entire allotment of Modern Masters 2017 to Massdrop, which is why they had those 2 drops. I know this person has been selling pallets of booster boxes to Massdrop for quite some time. I assume there are other people supplying them, and probably the wholesalers directly are probably supplying them as well. Really, it will be no different than me having basically a silent partner deal with, say, my local game store, where they would abuse their wholesale contacts and sell me products at ultra thin margin, knowing full well that I intend to resell it. Something I've actually tried to run the math on several times, right? Because I have a huge Magic the Gathering audience. I would probably sell a lot of booster boxes if I was selling them for $89 or $99. I just need a whole LGS to sell me at like $80, so they can make a buck or two, and I can make a buck or two. But the numbers just have never really worked out for me. But these relationships certainly do exist out there. The problem is, this creates a competitive issue for local game stores, and that still have the overhead and employees to pay. In theory, a long closed store could still be profiting off their existing agreements, a WPN agreement, things like that, simply by dumping these products off to Massdrop. I mentioned earlier that I happen to know a few people that are doing this. I don't want to put them on blast yet because the local game store community knows who they are. And let's just put it this way, not unlike myself, they're not really well liked. Local game stores who panicked and offloaded their entire allotments of things like Eternal Masters and Modern Masters to Massdrop instead of injecting them into their local communities, it kind of makes me sad. Not every community has, I live in a smaller community, but we also happen to have 3, 4, 5 local game stores. So if one of them did that or 2 of them did that, I'd still be able to get a box. Or I could buy off Amazon or whatever. And really, at the end of the day, Massdrop isn't doing a ton different than all the other high volume, low margin online sellers. But it's a continuation of an issue that's already hitting struggling local game stores. And, this is just yet another thing that they're going to have to deal with. Remember, you can't play F&M at Massdrop.com. You can't play F&M on Amazon. You can't play F&M at eBay. I want to be very clear here. I don't think Massdrop is doing anything wrong. They're working within the constraints of the system. Now, at first, I was willing to say I don't think the local game stores are doing anything wrong either, but I got some verbiage from the contract that local game stores sign, and let me share this with you. And, I'm not a lawyer, but I play one on TV. So this is for any reseller. I was asking some people in the community, I said, local game stores, I said, hey, what is the rules here? Because you know what, I'm kind of mildly interested in, I could probably, sell a couple hundred boxes a month and maybe make $3 a piece. And that's not nothing, ship them out on the weekends. It's not a bad little thing to do, an HQ drop. I can negotiate some deals just like Massdrop can. But I asked about the contracts that local game stores have, and here's what it says, I believe, verbatim. Channels. All current Magic products as defined below and all other Wizards of the Coast products, known as the products, must be purchased for retail sale to end users as defined below. You may not sell or otherwise transfer products to anyone other than an end user, including but not limited to distributors, sub-distributors, or mail order businesses. An end user means a person who purchases products for personal use and not the purpose of resale, barter, or exchange. Current Magic products means Magic products first produced and released by Wizards of the Coast within the 2 years prior to your purchase of such Magic products. This is where it gets concerning, because local game stores, if you read this like I read this, local game stores that are selling their inventory off to Massdrop are almost certainly in violation of this, especially when I hear they're selling the most recent sets. So what does this mean? Well, I don't know. Certainly it doesn't seem like Wizards of the Coast really, I mean, I'm sure Wizards of the Coast is aware of Massdrop's business model. I mean, after all, they're sponsoring 2 teams on the Pro Tour. I mean, to give you some perspective, they see enough value in the Magic the Gathering community, enough profit to sponsor 2 pro teams. A pro team sponsorship, we're talking in the tens of thousands of dollars to sponsor a pro team. So I'm curious what you think. And I know a lot of local game stores happen to follow my channel. And so I definitely am very interested in what you think, because I think at first my opinion was, okay, well, they're not doing anything wrong by the letter of the law. And you know what? Customers get a good deal on products, so whatever. But then I talked to a lot of local game stores, and then, I talked a little bit about, I'm sympathetic to the struggle for a local game store, but also I'm pretty much a pure capitalist, and I don't fault them for doing this. The consequences of that, though, are that other local game stores who don't play this zero-sum, high-value, low-margin, high output model are going to get squeezed out, because eventually people are going to get sick and tired of paying $120 a box when everyone else around them is paying $89 or whatever. What do you think? Do you think this is something that should just kind of get left alone? Do you think the value to keeping these agreements honorable is good for the community as a whole? I don't think we can really put the toothpaste back in the tube on a lot of Magic the Gathering products. The idea that there's all these online low margin sellers, we really probably can't get rid of that. And the idea coming from the top is going to remain, meaning Hasbro, about volume for Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. But I would like to see is a little bit more extra care around exclusive LGS only products, not just F&M promos, but make the WPN exclusive program great again. Give game stores a reason or give players a reason to show up at their game stores. Players like me who more often just buy stuff and we don't often play. Because when I'm not in a buying frenzy, I don't even see my local game store. But if they got some exclusive stuff, now some game stores can choose to sell it on eBay. That's fine. But you're going to see a lot more incentive for local game stores to keep prices more reasonable and margins more reasonable if more things like From the Vault stay WPN exclusive. So I'm not saying, look, maybe booster boxes are gone. Maybe fat packs are gone. They're at Walmart, they're at Target, they're at Massdrop, whatever. But let's make sure, Wizards of the Coast, that we keep a strong WPN-only product line so that LGSs can continue to thrive, not just pay their bills. I'm sick of this LGSs have to pay their bills mentality. I want these people to be successful businessmen and businesswomen. I want them to have profit. I want them to build new houses. I don't want them to just pay their bills, right? Unfortunately, in this model, we have to rely on Wizards of the Coast to help them out sometimes with stuff like this. So definitely interested to hear what you think about Massdrop and about the high volume, low margin product sellers around Magic the Gathering. And I look forward to reading all your comments down below.